What's the answer? Start leaking information or some nonsense? No, that's nonsense. That's garbage. That's that's, once again, I've been very blessed. I've not really dealt with that. I've not dealt with, well, did you hear what he said? What? No, let's improve on offense and get our quarterback in a position to be successful. That's our focus. What someone's brother said or someone said, that will occupy very little of my time. And if there is a source, that source is unemployed. I mean, within seconds.
Oh, Urban, there isn't one source. There are many sources. Mike, this has been going on for a while. Motivated enemies of Urban Meyer from inside the building, spreading things to people in the media, some things that had merit, some things that didn't have merit. I've been hearing this stuff for weeks. It all started not long after the decision to stay in Ohio after the loss to the Bengals, not return with the team to Jacksonville. There are members of the coaching staff, there are players that just don't like the guy. They don't like the guy, and they've been talking. And it finally reached critical mass on Saturday with a report from NFL media about some recent things. The biggest problem for Urban Meyer is he has people who are willing to talk. There's always going to be something going on in a football team, but he's got people who dislike him enough, multiple people who dislike him enough that they're talking about it. That is where the foundation of this thing is starting to crumble.
Oh, they don't have a foundation. I mean, let alone it crumbling. There's no foundation yet at this point. Urban Meyer has built zero foundation for this team. And usually in a situation like this, is it nothing? Absolutely not. Is it to where Urban Meyer actually called his assistant coaches losers? I doubt that, but I'm sure it's somewhere in between. That's usually what we find, right? That it's somewhere in between. There's no doubt there are issues here. There is no doubt that Urban Meyer has rubbed people the wrong way. And let me tell you that this is not shocking. This isn't college. So you have a bunch of grown men out there who do this for a living. This is what they do. And it is in self-preservation time for a lot of these players. Not a guy like Trevor Lawrence, but for the normal foot soldiers on a team of, are they going to be on this team? Are they planning to be on another team? Is this coaching staff going to be here? That's what players are worrying about right now. They may not like Urban Meyer and like the way he's going about business, but what they're doing is they're worried about their careers right now. And that's what happens. Jacksonville's not alone to this about what you're playing for coming to an end of the season. But the difference is on a lot of teams is, where are you with your teammates and then with the coaching staff? You know, like we talked in Chicago, are you already playing for being on film of the next coaching staff that's going to look at you on film and see how you're playing, or are you not? In here, what's Shad Khan going to do? Dude doesn't want to pay out all that money that he would owe Urban Meyer because he doesn't have cause right now to fire him and not pay him. So that's the tough situation. You know, that's why it's a money game. If you don't want to have to pay that money out and he stays, what do you do that's different? He's still the head coach. You still have to let him run the show. So, you know, is it going to get any better there?
And there was some talk after the Ohio misadventures of possibly a termination for cause. And my understanding was that the team was fact-checking whatever it was that Urban Meyer told Shad Khan when he came back to the building and it all hit the fan. Now, that's been weeks ago, and I remember at the time thinking and being told there's a belief that there'll be something else eventually because there's always something else with Urban Meyer. As it relates to the money, no one can get a clear picture of how much he's making. I was told last year he was looking for $12 million a year, and there was some reporting in response that said that's false and not relevant. Well, how the hell is it not relevant? It's what the guy wants to be paid. 6.5 is the number that I keep hearing, which really isn't all that much as NFL coaches go. 6.5 plus maybe some bumps based upon how they do, and if there are bumps, I doubt that he earned any of the bumps this year. But beyond just writing the check, because most of these guys have the money, but they can just write the check. It's more important to have the right coach of your team than worry about the buyout. It's an embarrassment to the owner that he had to have this guy. if you throw him overboard after 1 year, you're basically admitting to the world, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's why there's this sense. And Mike, let me explain to you what I'm trying to do here, because this was like an Abbott and Costello routine. Once this report came out Saturday, I did what most in the media would do. I asked the Jaguars if they had a comment. What do they have to say about this? Is it accurate? Is it not accurate? Let me know what's going on. Their response for this one, and this happens from time to time with the Jaguars, they refer you to the personal spokesman for the owner. So I start asking the personal spokesman for the owner what's going on. His attitude is, well, I only speak on behalf of the owner on ownership matters. Well, they're sending me to, nobody wants to touch this from the organization. And eventually I got the spokesman to tell me to go look at an article in the Florida Times-Union where Shad Khan has some quotes about dealing with failure. And I guess that if you read between the lines, it means he's not going to fire Urban Meyer after 1 year. So who the hell knows at this point? Dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things, and dysfunction is the word right now in Jacksonville.
Well, listen, you said it, Mike. Nobody wants to admit they're wrong. We see this with GMs to coaches who pick players high in the draft that don't pan out, and they don't want to admit it right away because then you're admitting you made a mistake. Shad Khan doesn't want to admit he made a mistake here. He took a chance on Urban Meyer, a phenomenal college coach, which doesn't mean a hill of beans, going to the NFL. And you don't want to think that you're wrong. And not only are you wrong, but then, as you said, 6.5 is not a huge number. I don't know for how many years that is that you end up paying that out. So now you're wrong, and you're giving a guy maybe tens of millions of dollars over the next few years. I don't know. So there's egos involved, whether it's coaches, whether it's GMs, whether it's presidents, management, or whether it's owners. There are egos involved that I know the moves to make, and these are the right moves. And, oh my God, this move wasn't the right one. Well, how do I spin it? How do I get around it to say that it maybe wasn't a good move, but I don't look bad doing it, instead of just saying, you know what, got this one wrong. But unfortunately for Jacksonville, that's kind of been the thing. But here, it's getting a little embarrassing. It's not just that you're a bad team. You're a bad team and then some, with a guy who's got a incredible name in Urban Meyer in the game of football.
His name has taken a tremendous amount of hits in recent years, and especially it feels like it's accelerating. And that's the thing. He's almost got to fire his whole staff. Well, who's going to go work for him? And he hired all these people who don't like him and who are talking to the media about the things he's doing. Mike, he's got to be questioning everything about his decision-making skills and judgment. And, Mike, you touched on a very important thing. There are always going to be mistakes. In every line of work, in every sport, in every industry, there will be mistakes. The dysfunctional will double down and triple down to justify and cover up and conceal the mistakes they made. The people who understand that we just have business to do. We have things to do. They admit the mistake and they move on from it. That's the difference between the best teams and the worst teams. And we see what the Jaguars are doing, and they're one of the worst teams. And they've been one of the worst teams for years. It's just kind of the way it is. And I know Shad Khan's attitude is, well, you're going to have failures in business or just higher profile in the NFL. He's had 10 years of failure, except for that 1 year that I still can't reconcile, 2017. And at some point, you got to ask yourself, what role do I have in the dysfunction that is unfolding around me?
Oh, listen, I agree. It starts at the top, right? I mean, and owners put that on themselves, like a guy like Jerry Jones, to the point where you got rid of a great coach years ago in Jimmy Johnson because your egos clashed, and you want to be the guy that gets the glory and the guy that wants to be right. So you got to live with those decisions. And sometimes, as we're mentioning, your ego gets in the way and doesn't let you admit mistakes. And you said it, when you were describing it's business and you make business decisions, man, who are you describing at that point? Bill Belichick. I mean, that's a guy that just does business. I'm going to bring you in. I think you can help the team. Oh, wait, you're not helping the team. I'm cutting you. You're gone. Hey, nothing personal. It's business. And you know what? That's the way he does it. If it's a mistake, it's a mistake, and he moves on to the next one. And if it hits, it hits. And he's got the hardware to show for not being afraid to admit, I made a mistake here, and now it's time to move on and try something else. Obviously, it's different. Maybe it's different with the owners when you're dealing with billionaires, instead of head coaches, and that their dealings in the business world, and they want to run an NFL team like it's in the business world and not admit mistakes because they're billionaires for a reason. I don't know, but something gets in the way, and to me, it just doesn't seem like it's going to get better there. Because you're right, who's going to want to come work for him. You're going to work for Urban Meyer. You're going to look over your shoulder and see if, in fact, it's true what's going on behind the scenes there. Is he going to throw us under the bus? You know, how do you make a decision there without him just eyeing over your shoulder? It's dysfunctional right now, you know, from the top down.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.